Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Time Traveler's Handbook. Today we are going to be talking about Season 3, Episode 10 of Doctor Who, the episode titled Blink. Spoilers ahead. In this episode, the Doctor and Martha are trapped in 1969 and attempt to communicate with a woman in 2007 named Sally Sparrow to prevent the Weeping Angels from taking control of the TARDIS. Now, there are two aspects of this episode that I want to talk about today. First, about the Weeping Angels, who they are and how they work, and the second about the method in which the Doctor communicates with Sally Sparrow from the past. Let's start with the Weeping Angels, who are an ancient species of alien supposedly existing from the dawn of time. They are quantum locked, a term that is used in Doctor Who as an expression for being locked in time, essentially unaffected by the passage of time. Whenever they are observed by anything, they turn into solid rock with no discernible attributes. However, when they are not observed, they move incredibly fast. So they are careful to cover their eyes when in the presence of others of their own kind, for if they both observe each other, they would be unable to move for eternity. The important time travel mechanic here is not about the quantum locking, but it is that the Weeping Angels are able to send an individual back in time to live out the rest of their lives in a different time period at a single touch. The amount of time they're sent back in time is approximately how much they have left to continue to live, although that's kind of debatable and not necessarily always the case. It doesn't matter though, the Weeping Angels still use this as a method to gain energy, the potential energy from what they would have lived for the rest of their lives, and they use that to sustain themselves and continue to live. In my opinion, this is the most brutal form of time travel, sending one back in time completely randomly, stripping them from everything they had in their previous lives, and not giving them a way to go back to that time. Or even moving forwards in time. It's like stranding someone on an alien planet. Many other works of fiction are centered around someone being sent through time against their will. It doesn't happen terribly often in Doctor Who, but it does come up occasionally. The Weeping Angels are just the best example of this happening in action, in a way of actually menacingly trying to send someone back in time and, in a sense, kill them. We'll discuss the Angels a little bit more in a future episode, and there's a lot more interesting stuff that we can talk about there, about how to defeat them in an interesting time travel mechanic sort of way. Now on to my second point about how the Doctor communicates with Sally Sparrow through a video DVD extra that Sally's best friend's brother finds on 17 separate DVDs. This is a phenomenon known as a causal loop, or an ontological paradox, or as it's more commonly known, a bootstrap paradox. Essentially, here's how the paradox works. The Doctor produces a video reading off a manuscript on what exactly he's supposed to say and when. That video is then implanted in a DVD as an Easter egg on a specified list of DVDs, specifically ones that Sally Sparrow owns. And these remain hidden through time until 2007, when DVD shop owner Larry discovers the Easter eggs and makes the manuscript. That manuscript is then passed back to the Doctor when he is passing by Sally about a year later, in a situation where the Doctor has not yet been trapped back in time. But what he does, he uses the manuscript to save himself. Essentially, this manuscript going back in time caused the creation of the manuscript, meaning that this situation has no origin, which is why it's a paradox. This conversation that the Doctor has with Sally through the DVD is the key to him getting his time machine back, and what ends up saving everyone's lives and defeating the threat of the Weeping Angels for the time being. There are other paradoxes in this episode, most notably the writing under the wallpaper in the house, indicating to Sally when she is in danger and getting her out of another situation. This is a great example about how communicating through time travel is almost necessarily a bootstrap paradox every time, especially in situations like this where communicating through time influences the actions of both parties on either side. Sally changed history by giving the Doctor the manuscript, and the Doctor saved Sally's life by giving her the message back. It's a convoluted interaction, and the episode handles the interaction between the two parties very well. explaining what is essentially something that must always happen or a causal loop. And if any of these elements were removed, the manuscript, the DVD, any of that, then none of this stuff would have happened. And thus it only exists in reference of making itself happen. That concludes this episode of Time Traveler's Handbook. I hope you enjoyed. I know that this is one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who, and I always go back to it as a great example of time travel content. Next time we're going to be diving into the last couple of episodes of Season 3, talking about the Master. As always, thank you for listening.